and there's only one person right now, as near as we can tell, that's actually approving those leases. I think there's a lot of information to come out about the delays that this administration is doing in terms of taking the next step, which is providing permission to actually start the pumps to get them approved environmentally on a case-by-case basis. And when you slow that process down, and there's over half of those leases out there that are in that process right now that they're waiting to bring online, that tells you a lot about whether or not they really have an interest in providing additional resources. Furthermore, once you do that, you've still got to be able to put in the pipelines to get that to market. And you've got to have permission to do that as well. So when anybody suggests to you that there are 9,000 leases out there, they're only telling you part of the story, and it's a misleading part of the story. We need this administration to step up, because if they really think that the way that Americans are going to do this is get run out of being able to use gasoline because of the price and go to other alternatives, well, we just simply don't have very many magic carpets out there. We've got to be able to use petroleum. We've got to have it. And this administration is going to have to back up a little bit from what their promises have been about shutting down oil and gas leases in this country. The 9,000 out there may be true, but the ones that they've allowed to actually and approved for actually getting the leases in place and ready to start pumping is an entirely different story.
Senator Mike Rounds, we so appreciate your time and you joining us on the show.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, the sprint for Ukrainians trying to escape while simultaneously dodging bombs has turned gyms into shelters and everyday civilians into soldiers defending their land. ABC's Matt Gutman brings us more on the fighters and the most vulnerable refugees of Ukraine.
Tonight, in a country where even hospitals are no longer safe, a special train bearing those whose lives rely on constant medical care. Children with disabilities, some of them with cancer. Medics tenderly transferring them from buses to a medical train equipped with intensive care units. The kids clutching their teddy bears, tended to by a brigade of mothers and nurses evacuated from hospitals across Ukraine. Our Marcus Moore was there on the Poland border.
You can see behind me here the beds, the children with their families, and the team of medics here helping them as they get ready to set off on this journey. It will be at least a 7-hour journey to the north of Poland.
Here in Ukraine, near the front lines, there are more daring rescues.
So behind us is Ukraine, and out in front of us is Russia.
Recently retired Special Forces operator Jeremy Locke and his team rescuing these 6 kids east of Kyiv.
Picking them up, getting them to safety.
Their NGO, Aerial Recovery, bringing an additional 200 other children here to Lviv, where it's safe. Traveling on similar back roads this week, the Novikovs. 13-year-old Dasha snapping pictures of the journey. Tired mom Oksana cradling their cat. Dad Kirill walking the dog. They fled the hard-hit city of Kharkiv. We met them at this gym turned into a shelter. For the family, it was clear when it was time to leave. The explosions at the plant blew the doors off your house? Would you stay here? Would you go to Poland? A mother's brave face recedes into vulnerability, then tears. Her sons reach over to her, whispering love. For now, they're still together.
And they have each other. Our thanks to Matt Gutman for that. Still to come, the troubling technological achievement by North Korea. Stay with us.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
Welcome back. We're tracking several headlines around the world. 2 North Korean missile launches in recent weeks were test firings of a powerful new long-range missile, and a full-range test could soon follow, according to the Biden administration. The tests were of a missile reportedly larger than the one launched in 2017 and was assessed to be capable of reaching the United States. American missile defense forces in the Pacific have been placed in a state of enhanced readiness in preparation for a full-range test. Chileans Javier Salva and Jamie Nazar Salazar became the first two men to tie the knot in the South American country's history after a law allowing same-sex marriage went into effect. The two grooms have been together for 7 years and have 2 young children. In December, Chile's Congress approved legislation guaranteeing legal rights for same-sex couples, a milestone for the conservative nation. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said the criticism he has faced over a string of journalist killings is part of a campaign to undermine his administration and equivalent to a soft coup by media firms. Local activists, international groups, and U.S. lawmakers have called on López Obrador to do more to rein in violence and protect reporters after at least 6 journalists have been killed in Mexico this year alone. Now to the dramatic rescue of 2 premature babies born in Ukraine just 2 days after the Russian invasion. Our Eva Pilgrim on the harrowing escape and the powerful moment a first-time dad meets his 2 sons.
There they are. They're in there. The doctor's in there.
It's the moment Sasha Spector and his partner had been waiting for.
Meeting your child's supposed to be one of the happiest days of your life.
That was the happiest moment of our life. And then this whole nightmare began.
Baby Lenny and baby Moish were born premature, about 4.5 pounds, via surrogate at a hospital in Kyiv on February 25th, the second day of the invasion.
You know, you never expect a war to break out when you're preparing for the baby.
Sasha, a first-time dad, was desperate to get his newborns out of the war zone to safety when he met Brian Stern, a military veteran who runs a nonprofit, Project Dynamo, that goes into war zones and rescues those trying to escape.
What motivates you to go put yourself in harm's way to help other people like this?
I have an American father who's saying, help me, my boys are in trouble. They're in Kiev, which is being shelled and missiled and rocketed and invaded. Kind of, how do I say no? Knowing that I can help.
A Project Dynamo team, as well as doctors, nurses, and a Ukrainian ambulance crew rescued the twins, as well as another preemie baby, Sophie, on Monday.
They're little babies, they're vulnerable. The Russians were shelling Kiev in the middle as they were being wheeled out. So the stakes could not be higher. They just couldn't be.
How far away was that shelling? Could you tell?
I could tell you it was close enough for us to hear it and feel it. It was all about get out of there as soon as we possibly could.
Brian knew his team was up against the clock.
We're running for the border to Poland.
The team driving as fast as they could, going 80 miles per hour much of the trip. The group traveling through Russian artillery, checkpoints, and even a snowstorm to get the babies to a Polish hospital to safety.
My sister told me that she never saw me sprint that fast towards anything. Just to see that little tiny human body in front of us was just out of this world.
After that agonizing wait, Sasha now enjoying some bit of normal.
I changed my first diaper yesterday, and that was tough. I almost passed out.
What a reason to run fast. Our thanks to Eva for bringing us that. And still to come, the group of kidney donors prepping for an adventure of a lifetime for a very important reason.
National parks are incredibly safe places. A crime will happen.
Hey, Mom. My wife is home. She's in really critical condition.
At that time, I thought it was just a tragic accident.
There's still a lot of questions we need to ask.
There were small things that didn't totally add up.
This is 2 lives for Harold that have died now. I was shocked. Something's not right.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a 3rd hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
Welcome back. Did you know that there's such a thing as World Kidney Day? There is, and that day is today. So ABC News followed a group of kidney donors prepping for the adventure of a lifetime to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Their mission to promote the gift of life through living kidney donation. ABC's Will Reeve has this story.
Towering over Tanzania at nearly 20,000 feet, it's the highest freestanding mountain in the world, Mount Kilimanjaro.
Another day of training for Kilimanjaro.
It's a climb on many bucket lists, and for these climbers, it holds a special significance because each of these athletes is a living kidney donor.
The purpose of this climb is to show people around the world that it's possible to thrive with one kidney.
Kidney Donor Athletes is a national organization working to educate and change the perception around live organ donation through their One Kidney Climb.
I'm an Ironman triathlete, and turns out I was able to do everything and even more after donating than I ever imagined.
I wanted more people to see that these living donors can thrive, that they're healthy, that we don't have any repercussions with our fitness or our health.
22 living donors are joining together for this climb. Their reasons for donating vary.
Growing up, I had a classmate who passed away because he couldn't find a bone marrow donor. And in that moment, I kind of just knew that given the chance to help somebody eventually in my life, I would do so.
It's a way to leave an imprint on the world, to make somebody's life better, to give somebody else a second chance at life.
It was important for me to donate to a stranger because I didn't know anyone who needed a kidney personally.
There are approximately 97,000 people on the National Kidney Transplant List, and more than 3,000 are added to the list each month.
Who's ready for Kilimanjaro?
Yeah! And the 22 climbers on this trip are part of 22 separate donation chains. When someone donates a kidney to a stranger or on behalf of someone they know, it sets off a chain reaction and an opportunity for many more lives to be saved.
Something that's important to all of us is to normalize kidney donation. We're not heroes, we're normal people, we lead normal lives. In fact, all the donors I know, our lives are even better and more enhanced after donation.
In the process of saving someone else's life, these climbers are striving to live their own lives to the fullest.
For me, it was a simple trade-off. I would do it again if I could.
What is life if we're not helping each other?
All right, one kidney climb on 3. 1, 2, 3.
One kidney climb!
That is the spirit, and our thanks to Will Reeve for bringing us that. And that's our show for tonight. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Have a great night.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
Tonight, several developing headlines as we come on the air. Heavy fighting reported on the outskirts of Kyiv tonight. And elsewhere, you will see the moment the Ukrainians appear to defuse an unexploded bomb with a bottle of water. Tonight, the Ukrainian military releasing video showing a Russian tank convoy ambushed about 20 miles from the capital. Vehicles destroyed, the Russians forced to retreat. Ukrainians now claiming 2 Russian commanders have been killed. And that harrowing video from Ukraine's emergency services showing personnel defusing that unexploded bomb. Dozens of bodies now being buried in a mass grave in Mariupol, 24 hours after the horrific attack on the city's maternity and children's hospital. President Zelensky tonight now saying at least 3 people were killed, including a young girl. Tonight, the alarming warning from the U.S. now suggesting Russia may use chemical weapons in a false flag operation in Ukraine. Vice President Harris in Poland today pressed on the U.S., rejecting that Polish offer to send MiG Soviet-era fighter jets to Ukraine by transferring them to a U.S. airbase. We have it all covered. Ian Panel in Kyiv tonight. Mary Bruce live at the White House. Meantime, tonight, Vladimir Putin taking drastic steps trying to stabilize Russia's crippled economy. More than 330 companies pausing operations in Russia. Putin now threatening to seize their assets and transfer them to those willing to do business with Russia. And tonight, the new signs how all of this is directly affecting the Russian people. James Longman in Moscow. New images tonight of the urgent effort to evacuate Ukraine's most vulnerable, what's called the Train of Hope, a rolling hospital carrying child cancer patients and the disabled from the Polish border. A team of medics preparing them for the 7-hour journey. Back here at home tonight, the economy already tested before the effects of these sanctions. Tonight, the new numbers in on inflation. Americans facing higher prices on gas, food, and rent. Tonight, what appears to be a Russian threat on board the International Space Station. The message that an American astronaut could be left behind, possibly barred from returning on a Russian spacecraft. Is there a backup plan? The storms tonight, dangerous driving, winter weather alerts across 24 states, from Arizona all the way to the Northeast. Up to a foot of snow in parts of New York and New England, and we'll time it out. News on the pandemic tonight, the TSA and the decision on masks on planes, and the new variant, Deltacron. What the World Health Organization is now saying. Late word coming in tonight on Major League Baseball, and the little girl tonight now seen by millions performing in the bunker.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. And we begin tonight with Russia's war on Ukraine, the growing human toll, and tonight heavy fighting as Russian forces inch closer to the capital of Kyiv while attacking other cities across Ukraine. More than 24 hours now after that attack on Mariupol, the strike on a children's and maternity hospital. Tonight, we've now learned at least 3 people were killed, including a child.